Hello, everyone, and welcome to Emory Professional Sports Network. I'm Sean Farshi.
And I'm Andrew Block. Although many only remember Beyonce's halftime Super Bowl performance, a great game of football was also played. We will be evaluating each team's performance and decide which team should have won.
Also, the NBA defending champions, Miami Heat, are currently in first place in the Eastern Conference. We will take a further look at which teams pose a threat to Miami's return to the finals.
We will begin our show with our NFL section, with our analysts Sean, Mohammed, and Arif. The Ravens defeated the 49ers in the Super Bowl last week, 34-31, with the Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco winning the MVP.
The Ravens dominated the first half of the game, opening a 28-6 lead early in the fourth quarter until the notorious power stoppage occurred. Then, the 49ers almost mounted the largest comeback in Super Bowl history until a goal line stand with less than 2 minutes left to go in the game proved to be the difference.
So the real question is, do you believe that the Ravens won the game, or do you believe the 49ers lost the game? Let's start with you, Arif.
Well, as Sean said, the famous goal line stand that the Ravens did stopped quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick wasn't that efficient in the red zone. He was a runner in the red zone. Alex Smith was deadly efficient. He had 70.6% efficiency in the red zone. With Colin Kaepernick, he was around 46-47%. So the Ravens knew that they wanted to make him throw. So they blitzed him, taking away his running ability. This way, the Ravens were smarter, and they won the game with that stop.
What do you think, Mohammed?
I actually disagree. I completely disagree, actually. The game would not have been close if it wasn't for Colin Kaepernick's legs. The 49ers outgained the Ravens on the ground by over 100 yards. They outgained them in total yards by over 100 yards. The 49ers had this game. Of course, there was little bit help, questionable call at the end there, which gave the Ravens victory. But if you look at the stats, you can see that the 49ers dominated the Ravens, particularly after the power outage. It was not even. I came away at the end of the game feeling that the 49ers might have lost, but they were the better team.
I'm going to have to agree with Arif that I believe that the Ravens did outplay the 49ers, and although yardage-wise the 49ers were superior, the area of the fields that determines elite quarterbacks, the area of the fields that determines winners and losers, the red zone, is where the Ravens were victorious. Joe Flacco had 2 red zone touchdown passes, while the 49ers had to settle for 3 short field goals inside the red zone, along with a fumble by running back LaMichael James. Also, I think the 49ers did a poor job tackling within the secondary, allowing large plays to Anquan Bolden and Jacoby Jones. While they did do an excellent job stopping the run, limiting Ray Rice and Bernard Pierce to under 3 yards a carry, the performance by the offense and the defense in the red zone for the 49ers proved to be the difference and what made the Ravens the Super Bowl champs.
My argument against the Alex Smith case is that the game would not have been that close without Colin Kaepernick's legs and his dynamic arm. He, after the power outage, dominated the game. And I have a question for both of you guys. Do you guys believe that final call, the hold, do you believe that was a right non-call?
I got this one. A game does not come down to one call. Cannot come down to one call. Now, I'm not saying that Colin Kaepernick didn't do great things. He did great things to bring them back into the game. However, Colin Kaepernick was not efficient in the red zone. If the 49ers brought in Alex Smith on the red zone plays because the Ravens were blitzing, taking away the running game, they could have scored more touchdowns instead of selling for 3 field goals, like Sean said.
Mm-hmm. And I think the difference is what makes Aaron Rodgers versus Matthew Stafford, who's one of the league leaders in passing yardage every season he's been in the league, is making throws in the red zone. The area is smaller, the area to defend is smaller, it's tighter throws. You need to be an elite, accurate passer in order to be successful. While Colin Kaepernick does pose the dual threat, in this game he did not make the tight throws. The throws that are more contested, ones that he has to throw his receivers open in order to make the difference and take that leap above what Joe Flacco did.
A game of inches, and we avoid the question.
And now we'll begin our NBA section. The Miami Heat at 34-14 are in first place in the Eastern Conference.
However, teams in the East, such as the Knicks, Bulls, and Pacers, are only within a few games of first place in the Eastern Conference.
So who do you guys believe is the biggest threat to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference, and why? Let's start with you, Sean.
I believe that the biggest threat to the Miami Heat in the East is the Chicago Bulls. When you're only 5 games out of first place and you're missing a top 5 NBA player, there is no doubt that you are certainly on the minds of the Miami Heat players, knowing that adding a top 5 player to the team that's already challenging for first place in the Eastern Conference is a dangerous threat. I mean, they allow only 91.7 points per game on defense, which is good for third in the league. And they average 93.7 points per game on offense. But when you add a top 5 NBA player whose best attribute is his scoring and his leadership on the floor, that number certainly has to go up significantly. Also, their stingy defense will take Miami out of their game, which they've already beaten them in their meeting so far earlier this season. Also, they are 15-9 on the road, which is good for the best road record in the East. And you know that when you play the number 1 seed and you have to challenge for that top spot in the East, you know you're going to have to win games on the road. And the Bulls definitely travel well. And the last season that Derrick Rose was fully healthy, he was the most valuable player, and they played a very tightly contested conference finals. And you add Nate Robinson, Marco Bellinelli, and most importantly, Jimmy Butler to the mix of the old guys that they had 2 seasons ago. And this team can give the Heat a run for their money.
What do you think, Mohammed?
For once, Sean, you actually present a solid argument. I think the Bulls are a definite threat to the Heat, but they're number 2 for me. Right behind the Heat, lurking, are the New York Knicks. And then they have, Emory is only playing 20 minutes right now. He's starting to get back in the fold. They already have Tyson Chandler. That interior presence, especially against Miami, will be huge if they do match up in the playoffs. Also, Iman Shumpert is coming back, which is giving them added depth. Or if they decide to keep them, or they can trade him and get more pieces. And finally, Derrick Rose is one of the best players in the league, no doubt. But Carmelo Anthony this season is the best player in the league, and in his performance, his talents and what he brings to the table can really match up well against LeBron in a matchup. And I really believe that the New York Knicks. I'm a turncoat. I at first was a skeptic. Now I'm a believer. I think the Knicks could challenge the Heat.
What do you think, Arif?
Well, I'll agree with Sean and Mohammed about the Bulls and Knicks respectively, and Carmelo Anthony is playing at an insanely high level this season, bringing defensive presence and everything. I'm going to drop a bomb on you guys. I believe the Celtics will challenge the Heat. Not for the number 1 spot, but they will probably end up challenging them in the playoffs, which is even more important because the Celtics have one thing that the other teams don't have. They have resolve. They lost Rajon Rondo and they've won 7 in a row. 7 in a row. That's thanks to the leadership of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and what Doc Rivers has done with that team. Doc Rivers has also allowed the emergence of Jeff Green, who was a great player, who was complementing their system. I believe the Celtics can challenge the Heat in the playoffs and beat them on the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, regarding Mohammed's point about Carmelo Anthony being the best player in the league this season, well, that's all good and all in the regular season, but I don't remember Carmelo Anthony making a significant playoff run. I know he's been in the conference finals one time in Denver, but he hasn't proven that he's can take a team all the way to the championship. Amare, who's getting huge bucks to play 20 minutes a game off the bench, he isn't a playoff performer. He's been to the conference finals one time. Neither of these guys have playoff experience. And regarding resolve, what about the Bulls last season? They were missing their star player most of the season, and they were the number 1 seed. They were missing him all of this season, and they're within 5 games of the Miami Heat. I think that also the Knicks are 23rd in rebounding, 28th in assists, and in order to beat Miami, you have to get more shots than the Miami Heat take, because you know that LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh can make difficult shots, and they're one of the poorest rebounding teams in the league, and the way to beat them is with dominating the offensive glass, and that's something that neither the Celtics nor the Knicks present that the Bulls can offer.
Regarding Carmelo, you fail to look at the context of the situation, Sean. When he was in Denver, he was caught within a very difficult Western Conference with the Lakers and the Spurs, year in, year out. Carmelo's run the year he made the Western Conference proved to most people that he can take a team. He is the truth, not the truth, but
Paul Pierce's bro.
Yeah, that's Paul Pierce. But he is definitely a beast, and he can take a team to the finals. I agree with a lot of your points about the Bulls, but Derrick Rose is injury prone. He's going to change the whole tempo, the dynamic of the team, because he likes to hold on to the ball. I don't know how it's going to work when he comes back with the chemistry. And on our point about Boston, I think I'm very impressed with what Boston has accomplished. If anyone can do it, it would be Doc Rivers Celtics. But they lost their best player, and I just don't think they can do it. I don't think they can do it.
Correction, they lost their best distributor, who elevated everyone's play. However, with the emergence of Avery Bradley and Jeff Green as playmakers, they were getting some help back. And back to Sean's point on resolve, sure, they had resolved during the regular season, but come the playoffs time, they lost to the 76ers last season without Derrick Rose. Now, obviously, it's not the same team, but playoff experience, like you said, is a different story. Celtics have a lot of playoff experience. Therefore, I believe they can challenge the Heat for the Eastern Conference spot in the finals.
I just think that talent-wise, I think that if they were the 8 seed, if the Boston Celtics were the 8 seed and with Miami the 1, I think Miami would have trouble playing the Celtics. But I think that in order to win the East, it takes a lot more than resolve, as the Bulls, a comparable team, losing their star player. While they do play very hard and they do have star talent, but that's a big loss. I mean, usually these runs, like the Bulls did in the regular season last year, they don't always last. You need that superstar player. And Derrick Rose is becoming healthy, and their bench is loaded. You think about when Derrick Rose comes back, you're going to have Nate Robinson on the bench, Kirk Heinrich on the bench, Jimmy Butler on the bench, Taj Gibson. That could be a starting lineup that beats a few NBA teams, and that's coming off the bench. Taj Gibson could start probably for half the teams in the league. And Nate Robinson's playing well, although obviously he hasn't had the history to deem him a starting NBA point guard, but he's been excellent, and he's been an explosive player off the bench. There'll be another weapon for the Bulls. And Jimmy Butler has risen up to become potentially, as they called him, the Kobe stopper, and he's someone who can stop one of the big three, and it will be a very tough matchup regardless. But
The bottom line is, for me, the Celtics don't have the interior presence, and we don't know I have to see it first.
I agree with Mohamed on Derrick Rose. He's going to come back from knee injury is very difficult. He will probably have to adapt his play style a little bit in the beginning before he starts trusting his knee fully. But I believe he can take it. But I don't see them challenging the Heat in the playoffs.
Well, I also, on another note, Carlos Boozer has stepped up to score very well. He's making his shots, and that's something important, especially considering that Miami's post defense is also another one of their weaknesses, along with their rebounding. And you have an all-star center in Joakim Noah, and Luol Deng has really not been healthy the whole season. When he was out and Jimmy Butler had to start in his place, they really didn't miss a beat. And this guy is a bona fide all-star, and they're getting more and more weapons to challenge the Heat. And Tom Thibodeau is one of the best coaches in the league, and you know, like Doc Rivers, that he's going to have them playing hard.
I couldn't agree more on that last point. Tom Thibodeau's a great coach.
For Emory Professional Sports Network, this is Sean Farshi.
And I'm Andrew Block.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
And stay classy, Emory.